Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. Today we are reviewing the new Flex PXE 80, which is an ultra mini cordless polisher with some cool features. Let's get stuck into this review. Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. The Flex, let's just call it the PXE 80, but its full name is PXE 80 10.8-EC, which I think the 80 stands for the maximum plate size, the 10.8 stands for the voltage that it runs at, and I think the EC stands for probably electric and cordless, guessing there. Now, key thing with any of these tools are to know what other options are out there on the market before we get stuck into this one. You also have the Rupes Nano Hybrid, the first cordless ultra mini nano polishing tool on the market, if you like. You have the new Liquid Elements one, which is similar to the Rupes, which has just been released, and I don't know what that's like. You also have the Proxon, which I don't think is cordless, but it's a little mini rotary tool as well. So I'll flash those three tools up when I'm talking about them and put the prices up, so you get an idea of what else is out there. But this video is really going to be focusing on this new to market tool from Flex. The Flex PXE 80, most people are going to be buying this in kit form, guys, and it comes in a hard case box. You can see below, I'll overlay the shots, with two of the 2.5 amp batteries, the 3 adapters and the 3 plates, and the recharging unit, and that kit costs £420. You should be able to find places selling the tool only if you're an existing Flex user and you've got kind of these batteries kicking around for some of our drills or whatever, the 10.8 volt batteries. And I think the tool will be roughly between 180 and 200 pounds only if you want that. Okay guys, so I want to run through the specs very quickly. Size in millimeters, 265 by 65 wide by 95 deep. It weighs 63 kilos with nothing, with no plate or no battery on it. I stuck it on the scale as you see it here with the biggest plate and pad and battery, and it weighed 1,053 grams, which is about 1 kilogram roughly. So the tool is a lot lighter than most rotaries. In fact, it's so light you're never going to get any fatigue with this. You know, it's a mini tool, but it's slightly bigger and perhaps even heavier than some of its rivals, but still very light and easy to hold. The battery sizes, guys, there are 3 batteries that come with it. These batteries are slightly smaller. They are the 10.8 volt ones, not the 18 volt that come with some of their other machines. And there are 3 batteries. There is the 2.5 amp, the 4 amp and the 6 amp. Most of the kits are going to come with the 2.5 amp battery that you see here, which has a rough, we'll talk about running times and recharge times a little bit further on. Next up, running speeds, guys. You have 4 speeds, 1 through to 4. You cycle through the speeds with the plus and the minus button. For the whole, it remembers what speed you were last on when you turn the machine off and click it back on. There is one exception to that if you're running at top speed, speed 4, when you turn the machine off and then turn it back on, it drops it down to speed 3 as a safety mechanism. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. What are the running speeds, guys, in rotations per minute? So it goes up to, if you've got the speed on dial on speed 1, you can go up to a maximum on speed 1 of 2,000 RPMs. Speed 2 is 3,000, speed 3 is 4,000, speed 4 is 5,000 RPMs, okay? So if you're using a rotary mode on this, you're going to be running at 5,000 RPM, which sounds like an insane speed, but your rotary mode is going to be running 1-inch pads, which is tiny, so you need to get it going fast in order for the tool to be effective. You cannot run the 75mm plate in rotary mode because 5,000 RPMs with this size pad would be quite interesting. It'd be too fast and you could buffer trail. You would also be putting a heavier load on the machine. It might not be powerful enough to cope with that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. How does that rotational speed translate to orbits per minute if you are running DA modes? Well, it gives you a capability of around 800 to 4,000 OPMs at speed 1, and then up to 6,000 OPMs at speed 2, up to 8,000 at speed 3, and up to 11,600 at speed 4. You have two different orbit size adapters for the DA modes. You have the 3mm offset, which you are primarily going to be using with the plate that supports the sanding daisies, okay? So you're going to use the 3mm DA to do sanding, and you are going to use the 12mm throw plate, you know, adapter really with the 75mm plate more often than not to do kind of polishing of a slightly wider area. And you are primarily going to be using the rotary adapter with the 1-inch plate for the very intricate areas. If you're using tiny plates, this tiny 1-inch plate does fit on that 12mm adapter, but they don't work so well when you're using tiny plates on big throw machines, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. So I don't think there'd be many requirements to actually move the plates to different adapters once you've actually put them on the machines. Next up, guys, so 3mm offset adapter and 12mm offset adapter and rotary adapter. Next up, guys, you have an LED power display, so you can always check the power of the battery that you are currently running. It has an electrical management system which is there to protect itself, maybe shut the machine down if it detects certain things. I don't know what they are. Maybe that's overheating, although this machine doesn't even seem to get close to what I describe as warm. But there's software there to protect itself and kick in if it feels like it needs to. It's also running brushless motors, guys, so you don't have to maintain or service the polisher as regularly as a tool that has brushes in it. So lots of them are going brushless nowadays. What else have we got? Shock protection to protect surface, vibration optimization, so they're trying to get the tool low vibration, constant speed control, which is interesting. So it does have the software to maintain speed, which is very important. So if you're in like rotary mode, for example, and you press more into it, you're going to slow it down considerably more, but the machine is going to kind of compensate for that and try and keep the machine operating at a constant velocity, which is something that you really do want. And I wasn't sure if it was on those other larger versions of these cordless polishers that Flex do. As I've mentioned, or may have mentioned, you have 4 main operating speeds that are on a plus or minus button rather than the scrollable wheel that you often find on polishing machines. You have a thumb trigger, which is interesting as well. So it's not on a finger trigger, it's on a thumb trigger that's variable speed. So you can just put it on a little bit, it's slower, and then you can push harder and speed up, and then you can lock it on. I don't think you're going to ever be wanting to operate the tool for too long on a slower speed. So, I don't know, it's interesting, it's got the capability there. We'll talk about that as well later on. We're just going through the specs at the moment. And one of the other key features, guys, is the quick release system. So you can just quickly go from polishing out an area, or you could go from sanding out an area and just quickly pull this off. You know, you pull it in a bit like you do with your snow foam lances. You grab whatever adapter you want to put in there and you click it in. It's very easy to change and very quick and works pretty well as far as I can see. So that's a nice feature. Okay guys, we're going to go on to some of the testing that I've done. Once I've shown you the results of like battery time, how long it takes to charge it, all of this stuff, I'm then going to go through and give you all of my kind of pros and cons of what I make of this particular tool. Next up, basic testing, guys. First up, noise. The machine seemed to measure around 70 decibels at speed 4 with the dual action, the large 12mm throw adapter. But that was a maximum. It's typically running between 65 and 68 decibels. The noise levels on this seem very low. In fact, you would not, in my opinion, need to wear to put the old headphones on with this machine. It's very quiet. Next up, vibration. This machine feels exceptionally smooth to me, especially when you're running the dual action. When you're running the DA 12mm adapter, there's a little bit more vibration. One slight comment is when you're holding the rubberized grip, the vibration is lower, but I just find it easier, and the tool's so light that I was putting my hand on the battery a lot of time to balance the machine, and you do seem to get more vibration coming through when you make contact with the battery on your hand. So yeah, that's an interesting thing, but either way, the vibration levels on this machine are really, really low. But maybe if they could have got a rubberized battery as well, they could have reduce the vibration to the actual end. It might just be that the battery's on the end of the tool as well, so you're getting more vibration down at that part. I really don't know. I really don't care. Next up, cooling. Guys, I had a full battery and I ran this machine up and left it running for virtually, to see what its full run time was, of about an hour. After that hour, the machine was stone cold. It does not generate any heat at all, which is fantastic. It's drawing heat through the back of the machine and blowing most of it sideways out of the tool, so you can see the vents there. There are also vents down the bottom, but they seem to blow out less downwards and more out the side. I'm wondering if you accidentally block those vents, then these ones will probably start blowing out a little bit more. But the cooling on the tool seems absolutely fantastic. Next up, no run load times. Simply guys, on a full charge, I fired this up on maximum speed and just left it running, and it ran for 1 hour and 30 seconds. I was standing there when it actually cut out before it lost all its charge, which is very, very impressive actually for a little machine. So when you factor in you'll be stopping all the time and you know wiping down, inspecting and that, you'll be polishing for hours on this thing before you need to recharge. The charge time, guys, it took 40 minutes and 29 seconds to recharge the battery. So there is no risk with 2 batteries of you ever being out of polishing time, as far as I can see. So you should be able to round robin and get continuous operation with 2 of the 25 amp batteries. Very important point. Next up, guys, the dirty part of doing reviews is to go through and try and find everything that I don't like about this tool, and also give you the things that I really like, and at the end summarise with an overall recommendation of whether or not I think you should look at this tool and what are the considerations. You know what I'm getting at here. So let's get stuck into the cons first of all, the things I don't like. First of all, you cannot set the speed unless the tool is on, okay? So it's a digital speed gauge. With the other tools, I can know in advance what kind of speed I'm going to run at. So the tool will be off, and if I'm spreading out polish, I whack the speed far over slow as it can go on a little dual action. Then I sort of like lay the polish out and ramp it up to speed 4. I can't do that, so I have to turn the machine on and then potentially drop the speed. That is a little bit of a disadvantage. I would like, and I can't see why, even if the machine is turned off, if I press the down speed on there, for it suddenly to jump into life and lower the speed down, rather than the unit be completely dead when I don't turn it on. So that's a little software thing that they could have improved on. Next thing, guys, is I just found while I'm holding the machine, I want to be able to reach the speed settings without having to kind of reposition my hand. And if you just look where my thumb goes, it doesn't quite reach. I have to kind of just reposition slightly. What I was doing was kind of this, and then pressing it with my finger and thumb, and then kind of going back, or then holding the back of it when I was polishing. To keep it simple, I think I'd just prefer an analog kind of dial that I can actually reach while I'm polishing. This little kind of plus and minus thing, it's okay once you've got your speed and you're going, but it's not quite as quick and intuitive as the old analog dial, in my opinion. So I made a note of it. The next point, guys, I mentioned this earlier on, that if you select speed 4, and that's what you want to be kind of using, when you turn the machine off and then back on again, it drops the speed down to 3. There are circumstances that I can think of where that might be undesirable if you're doing, you're doing set after set where you want it at a certain speed. Some people will say, well, you need to slow down to lay the polish out. I don't always, I can foresee that being undesirable, and it goes back to the point that if they'd have just picked a simple analog speed wheel, you wouldn't have to make these considerations, really. They never did that on the analog wheel. If you left it on speed 5, it would automatically spin back round down to speed 4. It's never a problem. So I don't know why that's kind of in there. Like I say, I don't particularly want that. The next negative I've got, guys, is price, and this depends how you look at this. Let's compare it with its 3 main rivals, the new Liquid Elements kind of polisher that's 230. That is, as far as I know, the Chinese offering, which is very similar to the Rupes. And that's obviously going to be the cheapest on the market of this ilk of ones that can have the adapters in them that can do rotary and free spinning. DA polishing. So that's the bottom of market price, if you like. Next you have the kind of Rupes Nano Hybrid, the original one. That is 550, I believe, or somewhere between 500 and 550. Always shop around. That kit also, I believe, contains pads. It also, as well as 2 batteries, contains a corded option adapter that you can plug into the back of the machine so you can run it off mains, which is a nice touch. But still, that's 550. This at 420, you'd say, well, it's cheaper than the kind of Rupes. It's not cheap really though, is it? I'm just going on gut instinct here. I would love this tool to be 300, I think would perhaps be too cheap, because I know these batteries are probably near enough 100 quid each. But I'd love it to be about 300. 350 maybe to 375 is where I feel it should be. So it's like about 45 quid more than I want to pay for this particular tool. It's still a little bit cheaper than the Rupes, but then you've got this very cheap option now on the market at 230 from Liquid Elements as well. And companies like Flex and Rupes have to look at these Chinese options because they are taking a lot of their business. And I don't want Flex and Rupes to be the cheap option on the market. I want them to be the premium option. I want them to be more expensive. I want them to be better quality. But ultimately as well, as a potential customer, I want them to be affordable. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. 350 to 375 would be a price that I feel is where I'd want to be with it. Another big negative for me, guys, is primarily the detailing market is going to be looking at this machine for polishing of intricate areas. The Nano, the Rupes Nano, is a smaller machine than this. I think mainly around height, there's a big difference, or there's a difference going from what I can remember in the height of this, that the Nano Rupes machine can get into tighter areas than this machine. This will probably struggle to get behind in between most kind of wing mirrors and the flat gloss bit that you're trying to polish out. It'll probably struggle to get in to some tight areas on lower bumpers and grills and maybe between the spokes of certain alloy wheels. It is not as compact as the Hybrid Nano. It also doesn't have like a kind of the long neck version. They missed a big trick with this, that they could have given you an extension bar for the rotary, so you could get a level of extension there that would help you in certain circumstances get into places. They also missed a big trick that part of the intricate area of polishing on cars is underneath door handles, and there's not a lot of solutions for doing that. And they could have created an adapter that supports a cone, you know, like a cone or what's the word, a cylinder polisher that you can use to get under the door handle and polish, and that would have been very desirable. Maybe it will come along later on, but I wish it was kind of here with the release of the tool, because it's not that complicated to create that sort of adapter either, guys, although it's all got to be tested, hasn't it? It's all work. So another negative is they missed a trick with extension bars and the ability to put a cone adapter in there to polish underneath door handles and other intricate areas. Another consideration is they've taken the time to put all this rubber components on here, which reduces vibration, but is also safer to clear coat. However, one design flaw is that these pieces of plastic that you can see me pointing up here, in particular this very end piece, let me get this in focus because this is an important point. Right here on the end, it's just raised up, and that's actually the highest point. And then the highest point over here is actually the switch. When you set this machine down, let me get the focus back on me. When you set this machine down on clear coat and you move it, the plastic bits are what touch the clear coat and they scratch the clear coat. If they'd have just lowered this down or rubberized this top piece and rubberized the button or sunk the button down so that the top bit here was rubber, then you could set this down on clear coat without scratching it. That would have been a nice feature, guys, although you should never really be setting tools down on clear coat. Sometimes I'm sure there's people out there that have done it, and it'd be nice to know that the tool is safe if you ever did do it. Okay guys, next I want to move on to the pros. The first pro is that for me, this tool for its size feels very powerful. The constant speed works. So if I increase pressure and try and slow this tool down, I can just feel it slow down, but then it's sort of, the constant speed system kicks in and the speed increases, it seems to have a lot of punch and torque for a tiny little tool. In fact, I'm going by memory here, I would say this tool is more powerful than the Rupes Hybrid Nano. That's going from memory. It feels beefier, it sounds smoother, and it's definitely, for me, got a little bit more power and capability over the Hybrid Nano. Next up, guys, is the machine prone to stalling when you're running the 75mm plate with an 8-inch pad on the 12mm adapter? And the answer to that, in my opinion, is no. There's no contact or support from the shroud of the machine over the plate. So there's no plate rub, if you like. And some of the long throw machines, the plate is supported by the shroud, so it can't, you know, there isn't the chance to put excessive movement on there as the kind of bearing wears. So it's supported. There's no support on this system, so it's not rubbing. And it seems to spin very well. You can, of course, stop any free spinning plate moving if you get the angle too high and stuff like that. But from the testing I've done, it seems to spin out really nice and is not prone to stalling or bogging down. Next up, I'm impressed with the battery technology in this. The running the machine at top whack for over an hour with a 10.8 volt battery, you know, 2.5 amps is impressive, and the 40-minute charge time is great. So there's a big extra margin in there of run time. So I'm never going to be without charge. Obviously these batteries are new, so their performance is optimal, and batteries degrade over time. But from the testing I've done, I'm impressed with the run times and I'm impressed with the charging times of these batteries. Flex are very, very strong when it comes to batteries. Next up, another pro, the noise levels and vibration are superb. This tool is smooth, doesn't make a lot of noise. The vibration levels, in my opinion, are low. Obviously, especially when you're using the rotary machines, it is extremely smooth. The other positive is the quick release system. I think is superb. It is without doubt the easiest polishing machine I've ever used to swap adapters over. And God, changing the plates on my Pro Plus is a pain. You have to get the little tiny spanner out and start. You know, it takes you a minute or so to swap them over. This, you'll swap them over in 5 seconds. Click, 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 done. That's a really cool innovation. The final pro here in my list is that I feel like the build quality of this tool is absolutely superb. It feels solid, smooth, it sounds good. It just feels like a well-made tool, and I can't see any obvious kind of points of failure or things that are going to break on this. Of course, that is just based on very limited testing, but it feels like it's well made. Well, the next section of this video is the critical points. It's similar to the pros and cons, but they're critical points. Okay, the first critical point is this machine here, this cordless machine. It can pair up with the cordless XFE 7-15, which is a 15mm throw dual action cordless machine. So when you pair up a dual action machine, you're probably going to want a mini dual action machine. So this tool with the 12mm adapter on it and these 80mm plates, you could pair up with the XFE 7-15, and that's it. 2 tools would be pretty much all you'd need. You'd have the big 150mm pads for the majority of your bonnet, your roof, your wing polishing. Then you would use this pad for front bumper, you know, tighter areas. And then if you wanted to, you could step down to the 40mm rotary pads for really ultra intricate areas. Now you could take this plate off and put that onto this particular 12mm adapter and also have a DA. It doesn't work that well with tiny pads. Neither does the Nano. I think you're better off using that as the 12mm adapter with the 80mm pad and just keeping that on there all the time. When you want to go more intricate than that, you don't want that offset because you can edge up better with this tiny pad. Just stick this on speed 3 or 4 with the rotary adapter and use that as your ultra kind of intricate solution, if you like. The point that I'm getting at with this thing is that you only need 2 tools and you're done. You've got big area polishing and small area polishing. If you're going to use the Rupes solution, you're really going to need 3 tools, you're going to be using the, what the hell is it called? LHR 15 Mark III. You're going to be pairing that with the LHR 75. And then if you want the nano tool to go below the 75mm plate, this is getting complicated, then you've got to buy the hybrid nano, and you've got to have 3 machines, and those 3 machines are going to cost you roughly, you know, below 1,500 quid, aren't they? Got to be fair, I don't know the exact price, but I'm going off, say, 400 quid a tool. It's going to be less than that, but you're going to be talking about 1,200 through to 1,400 quid. And Rupes do not have, they only have corded options on their big tools, okay? So with the Flex, you could go cordless with the 15mm throw, or you could go corded if you wanted to save some money, and then you could pair it up with this tool, and you're done, and you've effectively got the same capability. You know, you've got the same capability, but it's costing you a lot less money. Potentially it's cost you about half the cost if you pay 420 quid for this, and let's say 300 for the corded XFE 15, if that's how much it costs. You're at about 700 quid versus 12 or 1300 quid, and you've got the same capability. That's a very, very important point, and it means you have less tools, less pads, less things to maintain, less things to kind of, you know, it's just cheaper, a lot cheaper. So 2 tools rather than 3. Next, final critical conclusion point. I'm sounding like Veruca Salt from Willy Wonka. I want an Oompa Loompa. I want to use the 75mm plate with the rotary adapter. Okay, I want to use that. They have put in a safety peg that you probably can't see because this thing's not going to play ball, but there's a little peg in the rotary adapter, and there's no hole drilled in the middle of this. So in other words, the peg stops you fitting this on here. The 1mm plate has a hole in it so that you can get this on. Now, if you run this larger 80mm pad at 5,000 RPM, you're going to do some damage. You know, you're going to overheat paintwork. You're also going to put quite a lot more strain on the tool. Now, I could be wrong, but this little peg in this adapter smells of a last-minute change to me. Maybe I could be wrong. Maybe, you know, it could be an early-minute change, but it looks like they're trying to stop you doing something that they're worried about. And they're either worried about you misoperating and overheating paintwork, or the large pad is too much for the machine and it can't cope with it. You know, the bigger the pad you put on there, the harder this has got to work. Either way, the reason I wanted that capability is because I've just said if you're a DA user, you can pair this up with your DA and you're done with 2 tools. If you're a rotary user, you could pair this up with your PE 14-2 150, the Flex rotary, and you're done. You've got 2 tools. Now, at the moment, I pair my big rotary up with this compact rotary. And this compact rotary can support the 75mm plates, the same as this machine, and it can also support the 1-inch plates, the same as this machine, but I can also put extension bars on it. So for the rotary user, there isn't, if you look at the difference here, okay, of course this is about half the weight, but this is about 250 quid, so it's cheaper, you know, and it does essentially the same thing. So for me, looking at this, where I've got the 2 rotaries, it's less desirable because I've already got a solution. Now, there are some advantages. I'm really, really interested in the fact that it's cordless. Cordless is cool. It really is cool. I almost convinced myself I didn't need cordless and it wasn't desirable, and I'm gonna have to manage batteries and stuff like that. Not having a cable when you polish is amazing. It really is, and cordless is just great. The trade-off really is less about managing batteries and shuffling batteries. It's just more expensive, isn't it, to kind of buy these cordless machines, and a little bit more weight has to be added. Anyway, that's a big consideration. The next pairing consideration is, could you pair this up with the Flex 3401 forced rotation or their new XCE forced rotation? And the answer is yes, you could, but you've got slightly different dynamics. You're never going to get a forced rotation mini, as far as I know. It's a consideration. Okay guys, final summary on this. Should you go and buy this tool? Is it good? Well, I've gone through and given you all of the considerations on this tool. Where I'm looking at it, I'm an actual customer as well, exactly the same as you. I'm looking at this tool and thinking, should I go and buy it? I don't get this tool free, guys. It's been sent to me from Into Detailing. I'm going to be sending it back. I've just got it for this review, but I am looking at whether or not I should go and buy one of these. You know, I like the Flex tools. You know, I'm a Flex user. I'm just trying to see how this fits into what I'm currently doing. It doesn't fit in so well to what I do if I use rotary polishers. It's not giving me that much extra capability. But where I can see this tool being good is if I had the XFE 7-150 corded, this tool pairs up brilliantly with that and gives me a whole load of capability that I can't really get anywhere else. They have the mini XFE 7-1280 that only supports the 3-inch plates, and there's no cordless version of it. Okay, so there's a little gap there. And obviously that 7-1280 does not support anything smaller than this pad. So I can't use the little spot pads on it, and it's not as intricate. So there is a gap for this, and I would rather have this paired up with the XFE 7-15 than that other tool, because then I can just have two tools. It's cheaper. And I would go cordless on both. As I've said before, cordless is actually pretty cool. There are lots of positives about this, guys. I'm trying to keep this fair. There's lots of positives about this machine over the Hybrid Nano, in my opinion. It feels more solid to me. It feels more powerful. You can run it with bigger pads, so you can kind of use it for more mainstream stuff as well as the ultra intricate areas. There are some things that the Nano does better than this machine. The Nano is more Nano. Sounds obvious, but even just looking at it, you can see the Nano can get into slightly tighter areas than this particular tool. So there is that consideration. So it's slightly less intricate than the Nano, but more powerful, and I think slightly more capable with this larger pad, especially on the DA. This works really, really well as a dual action polisher, and it's incredibly small. So the amount of power that it has for something so small is quite impressive. That's it, guys. Overall, this is a good tool. I hope the review is giving you all the information you need to make a fair decision. Let me know your thoughts on this particular tool. Let me know if you're in the market for a compact tool and what's going through your mind. But I'm pretty sure from what I've seen that I will be buying one of these. So thank you very much for watching. I'll stick a link in the description of where you can buy this tool, and I think I have a discount code that might get you 10% off. For 420 quid, that could be like £42 off. So that will make a big difference. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon on the Forensics Detailing channel. Bye for now.
Holding on to what I knew, but the moment's gone. Where was I?